What is up, Waffle Gang, and welcome to Am I the Butthole Special. Now, I'm calling it special because I ain't seen nothing like this. Many people have been sort of getting in contact with me and saying, oh, a story you covered the other day has got an update from the other side, and I thought, oh my word, we gotta cover this, right? So I thought I'd throw out a cheeky little special video, just because why not, right? But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell too, and let's get straight into today's stories. Now, the story in question is one that we covered a couple of days ago, and it's called Am I the Arsehole for Not Punishing My Daughter for Mocking Her Cousin? I was debating whether to just point you to that video, a different video with a timestamp, or just read it here, but I'm going to read it here just to keep it all in one place for now, but feel free to skip if you've heard it once and you can't be bothered to hear it again. So, this is from Feels Like Not My Issue. Am I the arsehole for not punishing my daughter for mocking her cousin? My wife and a younger sister are best friends. As a result, when our middle daughter and her cousin were born around the same time, my wife really expected them to also be best friends. With 16 years of hindsight, I can say with certainty that the expectation was misplaced. Nothing happened in particular, my daughter just doesn't like her cousin. My wife keeps pushing the relationship. This includes making my daughter spend time with her cousin during family gatherings, inviting her cousin on trips, forcing my daughter to call her. We're pretty sure I'm the favourite parent, a fact that keeps my ego well inflated, and therefore my apathy towards the situation is not well received by my wife. From my perspective, this isn't important, and I do not possess the ability to make two teenagers become friends. I'm also pretty sure that trying to push this kind of knuckle-headed stuff makes kids not want to speak to you. This is where I'm probably the arsehole. Yesterday, my wife forced my daughter to video call her cousin. My daughter rejected the request, and my wife told her unless you have a valid reason for disliking your cousin, you will do this because we're family. The call occurred. This morning, we awoke to a PowerPoint presentation titled Valid Reasons to Dislike Cousin, using clips from the Zoom call, segments including Why is Cousin's Voice So Grating, a music theory approach, a case study, conversations that provide no value, rethinking the idea that there are no dumb questions, etc. With the benefit of a couple of hours of hindsight, it was a very cruel takedown of her cousin's entire personality. My wife was furious. My eldest daughter and I lost our shit laughing. My wife is demanding I support her in punishing my daughter for bullying her cousin. I have refused because I feel like this whole situation wouldn't have occurred if she didn't push the relationship, but I'm starting to have second thoughts because it was very mean. Am I the arsehole? And as I said at the start, what makes this special is the other half of this story was posted on r/relationship advice. Basically, this PowerPoint presentation was shown to the person it was against. And when I was initially judging that other story, I was kind of like, yeah, it's fine for your daughter not to like someone else, and you can't force someone to like their cousin just because they're family, right? And I still stand by that, as long as that presentation didn't get out at all and it was deleted immediately. But clearly, we're going to find out here. So over on r/relationships, we had niece probs, and we had my daughter, 15 female, was shown a hurtful video made by her cousin, 16 female. I have a really good relationship with my sister and thought our families got along pretty well. My daughter is a little socially awkward and always looked forward to visiting with her cousins because they're around her age. It wasn't that frequent of a thing, just calls on birthdays, holiday visits, and the occasional family trip to the beach. With the pandemic, we haven't been able to do family trips, so instead we started trying to stay in touch via family Zoom video chats instead. A week or so ago, we did a call just to check in and say hi. My daughter was happy to see her aunt and her cousins. She had mentioned that her cousins closest to her age had been acting weird, but we figured it was just the pandemic related stress and let it go. We decided to stop by to drop off their Christmas gifts the other day and stayed on the porch, for safety reasons because of the pandemic. My brother-in-law answered, I'm pretty sure he never liked me, but that's probably irrelevant, and told me just to wait there while he got my sister to deal with me. While he was gone, their eldest daughter came to the door with a smirk on her face and asked how we were doing. We had some idle chatter, then she mentioned something about if we had a gift for her sister. The middle daughter, 16 female, from the title. We should probably just give it to her instead or take it back. I asked why, and she whipped out her tablet and showed me a recording of a presentation where middle cousin had recorded clips from the Zoom call with my daughter and spent the entire time mocking her. I won't get into specifics, but it was incredibly hurtful, and my daughter started crying and walked away to sit in the car before the video presentation was even finished. I was so shocked I didn't know what to say. By the time my sister came to the door, I was in tears myself. My sister saw her eldest with a tablet and seemed to immediately know what had happened and asked her to go back inside. My sister looked at me and told me she was sorry, but all I could do was shake my head and gather the gifts to leave. I spent the evening with my daughter trying to cheer her up, but I don't think this is the type of thing she's going to get over quickly. I get that she's not as outgoing as her cousins and that they just had a familiar relationship instead of outright friends, but she did at least think her cousins loved her as family. She and I are both crushed to find out we were wrong on that assumption. I'm at a loss here. First of all, I'm not sure what I can say or do to even repair the relationship between my daughter and her cousins. I'm not even sure I want to try. Secondly, I'm not sure how I can ever be in the same room with my sister's children knowing this has happened. This feels like an enormous rift in our relationship that I'm not sure how to bridge. My sister has left a couple of tearful voicemails and I truly believe she feels remorse, but I haven't heard a thing from any of the others in the family. If you were all in my situation, what would you do to repair the relationship? Now at this point, this poster didn't even know the other half, like the Am I the Arsehole's half of the story, so they didn't know that was posted. But then someone in the comments posted a link and said, is this the other half of this story? And then the OP on this story saw it and said, well, I wanted to repair my relationship with that side of my family, but seeing the comment from Turbo Werbo, I think I'm about done. And it showed the link to that side of the story, so obviously then OP read it. And Fluffy Duck replied to that saying, yep, I'd be done too. Make sure your sister sees what her husband posted so she knows exactly who she's married to then cut them off. And OP replied again saying, good idea, I can't believe this crap. I'm sitting here fuming because I'm too afraid to get up. I'm worried I'll tip off my daughter that I'm this upset because there's no way I'm telling her about this and breaking her heart even more. And she can tell when I'm angry. So for now, I'll just hide at the screen until I calm down a little. My sister knew and should have at least told me so I could have at least tried to prevent my daughter from finding out or addressed it with her in a not public situation, like what transpired with her older cousin. Instead, she kept it to herself. That whole side of the family, happy freaking holidays to my daughter and I guess. And then Colby replied to this saying, bro, please show your sister your own post and brother-in-law's post. It gives so much insight on both stories. I can't believe how many people are saying brother-in-law isn't an arsehole and your sister is a bully. What the fuck? She isn't a bully for trying to start a family relationship. I love my family on both sides and would never. I'm not too fond of my step cousins. My uncle married a woman with children from another man, but I could never hurt them like that. This is so messed up. Favorite parent? Ego much? There's something wrong with him. Laugh because zoomed in on your daughter's face with a cord. Come on now. He's just making excuse after excuse. Everyone is so poor. There are so many red flags in brother-in-law's post. Please OP, talk to your sister. And then Che Bridgeman was saying, I think you have a conversation with your sister. That she knew about it and didn't destroy it. The kid isn't being punished. This is mean girl shit that gets kicked out of school these days. She may want to address it, complete with an apology. And your daughter doesn't have to forgive or get over it. But this kind of mean girl crap happened before, the extra tech, and it won't stop. Good heavens, I'm sorry. And OP replies once again saying, thank you. I think I really do need to sit down and have a long conversation with my sister. I'm just not ready yet. I hope she understands that. And I think you're right. I think I may just tell my daughter that someday she may want / be able to forgive her cousin, but she doesn't have to right now. And maybe we can skip out on the family gatherings next year. And girl in a red costume says, I'll drop him like a hot potato. One cousin made the hurtful presentation, the other was mean enough to make you two watch not giving a damn about your tears and hurt, and your brother-in-law thought it was funny and laughed it off. What are those people? And Significant Point 98 also replies to this saying, seriously, this is the kind of thing over which you effectively destroy families because it's better than the alternative. OP, your sister raised these children. People aren't born this way, they are nurtured into it. Either your sister inspired this behaviour or she failed to encourage better behaviour or stood by while your brother-in-law inspired this behaviour rather than stepping in to fix it. Regardless, your sister's children are your sister. There's no way of going around that. Forget about them, forever if possible. Your sister's children wanted to destroy the family. Let them succeed. You'll be the one better off for it, while your sister can go insane stuck in a family of her choosing, and maybe even of her making. And Purple Pluppy replies to this saying, according to brother-in-law's post on Am I the Arsehole, this happened because OP's sister pushed for her kids to get along with OP's daughter. Yep, this is an update to the post where brother-in-law asked if he was the arsehole for laughing at and approving of his daughter's cruel takedown of her cousin, his niece. And so many people said he wasn't because the cousin won't find out about it. But if someone is awful enough to do this or laugh at it, they're awful enough to share it. Plus, since when is talking behind someone's back not bullying? Not to mention, recording someone on Zoom, probably without their consent, not okay. And I've got to admit, I was on that sort of side of the fence saying, look, if she doesn't find out, then there's no harm done. But reading this, you see the other half and you can only think, fuck, that poor girl, what she's going through. So yeah, I'm totally sorry for even backing that kind of behaviour, right? And we'll do one more comment on this one with Crazy Cat Lady saying, you don't repair it. And I know that may sound terrible, but cutting toxic people out of your life is the best option. They have no respect of your love for you or your daughter. I know how this feels. I have not spoken to my mother in 5 years. She would get drunk and leave me voicemails about how I wasn't her daughter, just an inconvenience, and I was nothing like her, blah blah blah. And OP finally replies saying, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'd hate to lose contact with my sister, but I think I'm going to tell my daughter it's her choice if she ever wants to interact with that side of the family again. I want to leave it up to her. As far as my nieces and brother-in-law, as far as I'm concerned, they can kick rocks. Hopefully I'll forgive someday, but it's just too raw right now. Now, I can't believe that the other side of it came up on relationships, the 2 subreddits we read, and it's just so painful to hear for that daughter, you know. And how much the other side, hearing the other side, can actually affect people, you know, because on the initial story when I was reading it, I think I said something along the lines of, like I said before, that, you know, as long as she doesn't get to see this, you can't force cousins to, you know, be friends. And I stand by that you can't force 2 people to be friends, even if they're cousins, you know. They can be amicable, but you don't force them to get into this relationship where they have to talk to each other at certain times and all that kind of thing. And I stand by that. However, making this presentation was really, really hurtful and extremely shitty behavior, and it deserves to be called out. To be on the receiving end of that presentation and to be stood there and feeling the effects of it must have been absolutely heartbreaking to know your family thinks about you that way. But what do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from Long Way Home. Am I the arsehole for blocking my brother's wife when she named her new dog after my deceased son? My female 37 son passed away on August 14th, 2019. He was 9 years old. Cancer is such an awful disease and he suffered a lot. His dad was never with him during those awful times. He was busy planning his wedding with his new wife. He made my life worse and doubled my son's pain by not being there for him. I can't remember the number of times when my son cried out for his dad, but he just didn't care to even visit. He'd get annoyed by my phone calls, and so I learned to do everything by myself. My brother helped me out. He was there with me and treated my son like his own. However, his wife didn't like that. She told him he wasn't obligated to get involved in my son's care. She got mad when he brought some food and stuff. She complained to my own mum to get her to tell me to stop using my brother. When my son passed away, she made comments about my clothes and said she could have lent me some decent clothes. She defended my ex saying I shouldn't be bitter and let him live his life. She suggested I move to another state, but I ignored her. Last week she called me, asked how I was, and seemed unusually nice. She invited me to her daughter's birthday party. I went just for my niece and brother. I arrived and noticed a new dog, a golden retriever running around. My sister-in-law started calling family members to gather so they could eat. She asked who else was missing, and then started calling out my son's name. I was shocked, kept looking confused until the dog came running to her and started patting him. My mum was watching my reaction. My brother started correcting his wife, telling her to stop using the name. I lost it. I yelled at her and told her that she was awful, and she acted shocked. I immediately left the place. My brother apologised, but I was so mad I yelled at him too. I blocked her number, but my mum texted me about my inappropriate behaviour and lashing out, and said that my sister-in-law cried after I left and that I should apologise to her and unblock her. But I refused. My dad said I should make things right with her for my brother, but I just felt so much anger because of this. My mum wants me to come over since my sister-in-law is at their house and work out the issue. Firstly, got to say I'm sorry for your loss. 9 years old, losing someone to cancer that age, bloody hell, man. Any age is awful, but children, oh, it gets me, man. It gets me. Whew. But absolutely not. Cut those toxic bastards out of your life. Absolutely. It really pisses me off when people are like that. Little to no empathy whatsoever. What in their right mind, even the brother, what would they be thinking naming their dog after your son who's passed away? Come on. You can't be that freaking dense, can you? Oh, it pisses me off, to be quite honest. Let's read some comments because I'm getting triggered. Queen Oreo says, absolutely not. This woman is an actual monster. Family peace my ass. Burn all those bridges and find the people who actually love you. Not the arsehole. I'm so sorry about your son. I can't begin to imagine. Bright Copper Kettle says, not the arsehole. Your whole family is a bunch of cowardly, cruel monsters. I am sorry for your loss. Your story could have ended with you setting their house on fire and I would have still been on your side. BB8 is my homie says, not the arsehole, she's horrible. Your brother is an arsehole for not stopping this from day one. What the fuck? Stand your ground. I'm sorry about your baby boy. Stay strong. Generic username says, that's crazy as fuck. She's crazy as fuck, and your brother is kinda trash for allowing the dog to have the same name as your son and his own nephew. Not the arsehole. Stressed uni student says, are you kidding me? You're grieving the loss of your baby and this living pile of excrement has the audacity to pull something like this. It sounds like your brother is the only person in your family who is close to not being an asshole. How dare your own mother defend your sister-in-law? She is an evil hag and you should absolutely not reconcile with her until she apologizes. Obviously, you're not the asshole. And FF Screech says, what the actual freaky frack? Not the arsehole 3 times. She named her dog after your deceased son. And there are people who think this is even remotely acceptable. Cut her out, low contact for brother who allowed that to happen, though he did speak up in front of everyone against her. It should have never been something he needed to speak up about in the first place. Tell your mum and dad that sometimes people are toxic and just because they are family doesn't mean you're obligated to make nice. I'm sorry hun, I can't imagine your pain. Feck your ex and feck your sister-in-law. Now, what would you do in this situation and how would you deal with it? Oh, it's an awful. I hate stories with children that have cancer and stuff like that. I know no one deserves to get that awful disease, but it pulls on the old heartstrings, that does. And our next story is from Quiet Liff. Am I the arsehole for telling my dad his decision to move on fast is the reason we feel the way we do? Hi guys, me 15 female and my brother 17 male lost our mum 8 years ago. Our dad remarried 6 months after her death. We both found it really hard to come to terms with and I'll admit we've been very cold and sometimes mean because of it. Our dad just moved on and expected us to move on after 6 months. It's been pretty shitty few years for us and earlier this year our dad decided we all needed family therapy and so we ended up there. And my brother doesn't want to talk. He sits and says nothing the whole time, but the therapist a few weeks ago, back in early October, asked me if I was willing to talk, and so I did. I said my brother and I were angry our dad remarried after 6 months, that he and his wife thought 6 months was enough for us to come to terms with our mum's loss and be ready for someone new, living with us and trying to parent us. I said the fact that they never saw anything wrong with it made us dislike them both, and that the reason neither of us bonded with the new members of our family was we're still really angry and hurt about it, and no matter how long has since passed, it doesn't erase what happened. I also said it was insulting to us that they thought she would be our new mum, and that we would love her the same, especially after the way they made everything happen when they moved so fast. My dad asked if I love my stepmum now, and I said no. My brother didn't answer the question. He then asked why we were still holding on to it after so long. I told him because he might have needed to move fast for him, but he did so at our expense, and that was not something we could just forget about, or get over like it didn't matter. Things have been tense since. My brother is grounded for not opening up, and I was grounded for being rude. The therapist knows all this and asked if we wanted to do individual sessions, but our dad's wife said no. Then my dad said we're doing it as a family, so we can be a family. Am I the arsehole? and he's wondering why his son doesn't open up. He's grounding him because of it, because he's trying to... The guy even turned up to therapy and he's getting grounded for not opening up. Yeah, that's really going to work out. Nice one, Dad. And sorry, I totally forgot there. She was grounded for being rude in therapy. He considered it rude. You opening up and telling the truth. How you feel. Playing down your feelings. What a moron. I'm sorry. I know he's dealing with his own grief. And as what I always say, everyone deals with grief in different ways. But you have kids and you need to consider their feelings too. How dare he try and tell you when you should be over your grief, when you should have moved on? He should be much more considerate of your feelings, and I'd even go as far as to say he shouldn't have got married until you guys were not ready, but you know, had time to process your grief. Should have spoke with you, should have been in therapy after that, not got married and then took you to therapy and going, what's the problem? But Nanny Bismo says not the arsehole. This is made especially clear by the fact you got grounded for what you said in therapy. Mocko Master, not the arsehole, but your dad is. 6 months is crazy fast, and therapy should be a safe space. The fact that you're grounded for being rude and your brother is grounded for not opening up speaks volumes. I'm so sorry you're going through this. And Mysterious System 680 says, not the arsehole, your father was and is very selfish. He may have been ready to move on after 6 months, less given that he presumably dated this woman before marrying her, but he had no possible right to demand that you and your brother process your grief at his convenience. Now he's punishing you because you're not playing into his happy family fantasy. It wouldn't be surprising if he was one of those who piously tells himself that he remarried for the kids, not for self-gratification, and resents that you and your brother aren't playing along. Your stepmother is a fool if she thinks that love can be commanded, and nothing in your post suggests that she is worthy of your love. Quad says, I was grounded for being rude, and then says, how were you rude? You were encouraged to open up and you did. If they didn't like hearing it, they shouldn't have tried therapy at all. Looks like your dad thinks you guys need therapy, not he or his wife. Maybe he thinks you're harboring some kind of juvenile resentment. I don't know. Not the arsehole. Upsetty Asketi says, not the arsehole, grounding both of you for opening up during therapy is literally the worst thing you can do while still trying to actively encourage family therapy sessions. You are both absolutely valid in your feelings and should be allowed to individual sessions throughout this process as well. Your dad's wife should have no say in your mental health or treatment, and that's a real shame. She feels so entitled to it. I hope things get easier, OP. Now, what do you guys think of this story? The biggest one for me in this whole story is that they get grounded for opening up in therapy. That's just absolutely crazy to me. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little special. I just wanted to get it out there because a lot of you have been saying like, oh, read that story again, read that story again. There's an update on it. Please do it. So I thought I'd get that out there for you. I mean, it's just a little bonus one I thought I'd throw out there. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And you can even support the channel through YouTube membership by clicking that join button down below or heading on over to Patreon where you can join one of the tiers there. It's all very much appreciated and I love you. Take care, guys. Much love to you. Have a great day. Goodbye.